Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this session on cross-border investing. My name is Linda Smith. I currently serve as the co-chair for the Global Business Angel Network, which is a part of the GEC. And I have with me today a very impressive set of panelists. So I'm going to start by introducing myself a little bit, and then I'm going to ask each one of them to introduce themselves. We're going to cover a couple of topics, and then hopefully save a lot of time for questions from each one of you. A little bit about myself. I have been an angel investor for almost 25 years. I have had some duds in my portfolio. I've had a few successes, but I really see angel investing as my window in the future. It gives me hope for the next generation. I have served as the president or director, I guess chairman would be the proper term, for Angel Capital Association. That's an organization that represents over 400 angel groups here in the United States. We have over 15,000 active angel investors in that organization. And now I currently serve on the board of the Global Business Angel Network as their North American representative. Scott, would you like to start by introducing yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Linda, for having me, and thank you for your service. She's been at this a long time in a lot of leadership roles, and especially as a woman investor, it's great to have her with us. So I'm Scott Fox. I'm based in Southern California these days, but I'm here with a delegation that I brought from Detroit. Some of them are in the room. 40 of us came on a bus yesterday as well. I've been active with Jen for a couple of years now, and personally, I'm an angel investor mostly. I'm in probably, I've lost count, 40 plus companies for about the last 10 years, I guess. But what's most valuable to me about my own background is that I was a founder for a long time. So I've raised money. I've been on both sides of the table. And these days I spend most of my time as an ecosystem developer. I run an organization at startupcouncil.org. And we're expanding out of Orange County, California, where I created this community service. And we're going worldwide to try to help connect and build the connective tissue, to build the relationships that founders need to meet the investors, to eventually spin up and actually be able to raise money. And last point, I write books, and my next book will be about all that, how to raise money from an investor's point of view in plain English, and that'll follow my previous 3 books about entrepreneurship, and that'll be coming out this fall, and hopefully next year I'll be here doing a book signing for all of you.
Wow.
Yes, so my name is Mikey. I live in New York these days, but I've lived in 3 continents, in Europe, San Francisco before, Singapore, and I run Epic Angels. We're globally the largest female-only angel investor collective, so we only have female investors. We invest in both men and women. That's the biggest misconception, that people think women only invest in women. No. We just invest in good deals. I want to get more female capital into the market, so that's what I'm about. All the investments, though, that we do are only in Asia, Asia Pacific, or LATAM. So those are the 2 regions that we're focusing on.
Marcel?
Thank you, Linda. I think definitely I am the most senior by age, just to make you happy, Linda, which is a fact. I hide my age. A serial entrepreneur, last job, entrepreneur at Cisco, because I sold our startup to Cisco. Learned a lot from my failure, and one day I had this crazy idea, like all of you, I want to be a business angel. So I joined one of your best friends, Linda, Candace Johnson's club. We are very proud because to have her, it's an expat community of 17 nationalities. We think that we have a good life in Nice in the French Riviera, and we are very proud of the fact that we are 22 years old, and we insisted on speaking English to the whole ecosystem. That was a very challenging thing to do in France. And our pride is when Macron came in and he says, I want to do a startup nation. So he used the word English, startup nation. Right now, France has 33 unicorns. Can you believe it? Absolutely an amazing story. Me personally, by accident, 3 years ago, I have a crazy wife that I met. She said she wanted to launch the first VC Series A in Qatar, in Doha. So I'm living in Doha for the last 3 years. The company is called Ras Al Mal Venture, anchored by QIA. What I do in part-time, I do some golfing, I do some investing, but my pride, I love launching business angels from scratch. I've launched the Tia Women Business Angels of Cairo, Damia Tunisian Women Business Angel, the Moroccan Federation of Business Angel, soon Algeria Federation of Business Angels, and in Qatar, guess what? Watch for it. Business Angel of Qatar was trained by GBAN. I belong to GBAN board member, so I am the ambassador into the GCC. So you can tell I'm very passionate with business angeling. We had our failure. I've invested in 27. I had one major, amazing exit. You've heard the trend today. Is that one exit that pays off for all those losses? Yes. So it was Cyberflow Analytics, sold to Webroot in Denver 3 years ago, and I'm very happy about it.
Well, thank you very much, and you can see how impressive this panel is. I'd like to start the conversation by listing some challenges that are out there whenever you're considering cross-border investing, and then ask each one of our panelists to talk about how they've overcome those challenges, because they've been very successful in what each one of them has done. The first one, of course, I've listed is financial. What is the legal structure that you're going to be investing in? What is the corporate law of that particular country, and is it something that you're familiar with? What is the tax regime that you'll be functioning under as an angel investor? And are there any regulatory requirements that you need to be aware of in the financial boundaries that maybe you will be dealing with as an angel investor? In the area of economics, of course, you'd want to make sure you understand whether or not there's co-investment from the government of the area in which you are putting your angel money. Are there fluctuations in the currency? What kind of a talent pool is there from an economic standpoint to grow and build that angel investment that you're putting into? And of course, our favorite word these days, tariffs. What kind of tariffs do you have to deal with as you're importing parts or putting parts together or shipping into other markets? Cultural boundaries, boundaries such as, is there a risk profile? Is it a stigma to fail in the particular jurisdiction where you're doing your investments? Is there a trust factor that you've been able to develop so that you have some contact and some relationship there? Is there some language or terminology that is unusual or might affect how you negotiate or write the contracts or do the due diligence? And do you have founders that are looking at exits, or are they really looking to have a lifestyle business that might be inherited by another family member? So those are all parts of some of the things to consider. Finally, technology. Be aware that as we're making transfers of money for angel investments, hackers have found us. We had a recent example on the west coast of the United States where they changed the routing number, and all 25 checks of more than $10,000 each went into somebody else's bank account. So there's technical issues there that we need to be cognizant of. Cybersecurity, how do you allow board participation across time zones? Thank goodness Zoom has allowed us to do a better job of being able to connect with each other despite the country maybe that you're involved with. And to what extent maybe do you use platforms to help you invest in these other countries? So I've put a lot of thoughts out on the table, but each one of these has successfully overcome some of those challenges or issues. And Scott, maybe I can have you start with talking in detail about some of the investments you've made and how you've been able to do it in other countries.
Sure. Just a quick poll. How many of you are founders? How many of you are founders? Okay. And how many of you are investors? Okay, about 50-50. All right, well, that didn't help. Okay, I was going to try to tilt it one way or the other. But I guess I would start with, as an American, we live under a tax regime that's pretty restrictive in terms of cross-border investing. So those of you who are founders okay, another question. For those of you who are founders, how many of you are from outside the U.S.? Okay. Because that's really the issue for us. As an angel investor in the United States, it's very difficult for us to invest in other countries, primarily because of U.S. tax law. There's a couple of provisions which I'm not an expert on, but if you want to look them up, there's Section 1202, which is the qualified small business stock exemption, and there's another one, 1244, which is the allows you to write off your losses against ordinary income. Those sound arcane, but they make a big difference to U.S. investors. So I actually don't invest in non-U.S. companies, even though I invest in companies that come from other countries. And this is an important distinction that I think is often lost, because you look at the U.S. market, especially from outside the States, and you see obviously these huge capital markets and these huge consumer markets, and you want to enter this market, and we want you to come, but it's very hard for us unless, and here's my recommendation, you incorporate in Delaware, the U.S. state of Delaware, as a C corporation. That is the standard legal form for U.S. investors. So I'm not going to talk any more about that, but let me talk about the part where we can help you more, and if we want to, or questions later, I think questions are a great idea. What I have had more success with is helping companies that have been based in other countries like Australia or wherever, but they have a U.S. entity, but they don't know how to come into the United States and raise more money or find partners or build a team and essentially grow their business in this new jurisdiction. And that is something that as angels we can help with, regardless of what borders you're crossing, right? Finding people in the local market who can help you accelerate your success, and that's what I and my fellow angels in California, we do a lot of that, because a lot of people want to start in California, especially I'm a software guy mostly, and California is the natural landing pad. So we could talk about soft landing strategies if that's helpful. That's probably enough for me for the moment.
Yeah, it was funny when you were just talking, I was like, it's actually very easy to invest overseas, right, from the US. I don't think it is an issue. And I think it's being complicated by a lot of people, but it doesn't have to be. For me, I mean, my investors are coming from 36 different countries all over the world, right? The portfolio companies that we've invested in, I think I counted them, 18 is the latest that we have right now, 18 different countries all over the world. So very diverse. What the only thing that's important for me as an angel network to decide, are we even going to have a conversation with the startup, yes or no, is can money flow freely if we invest? That's the most important part for me. And then for me, it doesn't matter which country that is, right? Every country has pros and cons in terms of tax and whatnot, right? But money needs to be able to flow freely. That's the most important thing. Because if I, for example, invest in Vietnam, it will be impossible to get your money out. It's always easy to get money in a country. In most cases, it's impossible to get your money out of the country. Right? So there's a few countries where it's easy. United States, it's easy. So yeah, right, if anyone, because we invested in a company in Bangladesh that has a legal headquarters here in the US. They're never in the US, doesn't matter. They're never going to do business in the US either, but purely for capital free flow perspective, they're in the US. So technically I invest in the US, but it is Bangladesh, right? The other one that's really good is Singapore. Right? Singapore is amazing. Any company who has their legal headquarters in Singapore, we're like, yep, right, that works for us. The other one is UK, right? I think that's the other one where money can flow freely. If any startup is in any of those three jurisdictions, we at least enter the conversation, right? And then from my perspective, all the problems are solved, right? When it gets to all those things. Very curious.
Where are you based, though?
I live in New York.
Okay. But what's it tax-wise?
So my angels are in 36 different countries. So we have 36 different tax regimes all over the world, which means I can't, favor one over the other. But that's why the free flow of money, and we use a tax transparent vehicle. I think that's the other benefit for my angels, which means you're taxated there where you are a tax resident. Right, so we always syndicate. That helps them a lot, right? And we do that through the UK because that's the most neutral one. Because most non-US people don't want to invest in the US because then all of a sudden they need to file taxes. Asia for some people is still a little scary. I don't think it should be, but it's just mindset. UK seems to be the most trusted, well-known, comfortable one for everyone around the world to be like, okay, I trust the UK. It's tax transparent. So everyone is just taxated there where you are a tax resident. So that solves a lot of issues for us. Yeah.
So Marcel, tell us a little bit about how Sophia Angels has cross borders as
She's
well as
reading
your
in my
new
mind.
venture.
She's reading in my mind how easy the money is flowing. And I will add another element that all of us agreed. All business angel network around the world have the trust element. So somebody want to take the lead. I took the lead on a couple of one. One of them was a crazy PhD AI Polytechnic of Lausanne in Switzerland. coming to Sophia Antipolis to pitch, and he got a co-investment with Galatasaray Business Angel in Istanbul, Sophia Business Angel, 800K out of the gate, and he's doing very well. That's an example. Another one I like to do is the challenging one. The most challenging one, you said it a couple of times, is when you go into very shady areas. And one of them is North Africa. I am born in Algeria, so I understand exactly what's going on there. So we have Moroccans, we have Algerians. By the way, Algeria and Morocco, you know, they're not speaking to each other. And you have Tunisia. So what do? I love the ball change the world. We just go and say, listen, problem, solution. So we ask the local business angels to anchor that founder and to really coach him, and then talk about soft landing into Marseille, which is a very happy French tech community that is willing to do the marketing and sales soft landing. And we created from scratch MDBAN. And by the way, for God's sake, it's not Marcel Dridge Business Angel Network. It's the Maghreb Diaspora Business Angel Network, because we have a diaspora from North Africa all over Europe. So that's a good example on when we do cross-border, you need to find solutions. And I think business angels, we're very creative. So as long as the money is flowing in a nice way, then the deal is happening.
Yeah, maybe if I can add to that as
Absolutely.
well. Because also as a startup, if you want to grow, if you want to scale, right? Because as an investor, we're looking for 10x businesses, not 10% businesses. Most cases, it means you have to scale cross-border. Not in the US, it's large enough, but most other countries in the world, again, with a few exceptions, you have to go cross-border. So if you want to be successful, you have to set up your legal headquarters immediately in that country where money can flow freely, because otherwise no VC will ever invest in you, right? So as an angel network, I really see it as our job to help these founders early on, like do it now. Now it's still easy to do it. It's not a lot of legal work. It will only cost you $2,000-$3,000 and it's all done, right? It's very cheap and easy to do these days. And then you set yourself up for success and for future funding, not only by angels, but by VCs and your growth.
I'd like to ask those of you who are in the audience and are investors, do any of you have, as part of your portfolio, companies that are based outside of where you are geographically located? I see a couple of hands there. Would you be willing to share with us sort of what that investment is, how you did it, and whether there were any challenges or obstacles? How about the gal that's in like the fourth row back? Yes. And then the guy next to him, and then up here, Ali, all right?
Yeah, hi. My name is Miriam Lazarte. I'm part of Global Startups in GSA Ventures. So our startups, I'm based in Toronto. Our startups come from everywhere in the world to Toronto. So I think it's a similar example as you. Like many of them have like two offices, one at home, one in Toronto. So we're basically investing, in Ontario, but the company ultimately is doing the investment in their home country because, same as many other countries, companies are not coming to Canada because of the market size. They are coming maybe, because of the network, because of the entrance of the US. But we have companies in more than 40 countries at this point. So.
Excellent, thank you. The gentleman next to her?
Hi, so I'm Luis from Alaya Capital. Alaya Capital is a VC from Latin America. We invest across Spanish-speaking Latin America in the seed stage. And the fund, the GP, and most of our portfolio companies have a Delaware presence. So we're basically like in formality, like a US VC fund, but our business is happening in Latin America.
Okay, thank you. A reaffirmation that incorporating in Delaware is one model that seems to be successful. Ali, I think you had your hand up. Is that correct?
Yeah, my name is Ali Garba. I invested in India, a company that is set up to mimic Amazon. And it's growing like wildfire. I also invested in Tunisia. The gentleman is actually based in Dubai. He's setting up a company to take people on tourism. He scores and curates the experiences that people are looking for all across North Africa, and then he's going to eventually begin to go to the East Africa. Then I also invested in a company in Portugal that has set up a system for people to create music. You don't have to be, all physically together. You can be anywhere in the world, and they connect you with the other part of the system to set up your. Now, the way I've invested mostly using the crowdfunding platforms for fear that I may not be able to handle all the rest of the stuff that you're supposed to do before you invest.
Where are
So
you?
far,
Where are you based?
I'm based in Wisconsin, Milwaukee,
Oh, you're
Wisconsin.
in the States.
Yeah, I'm in the U.S. Yes.
But through a platform. Okay.
Yeah, I'm using crowdfunding platforms.
Right.
Actually, my advice to any solo investor in the room, I always tell them, you cannot clap with one hand. Please join a local club or try to be bullish in your journey and create your own. Because many of the panelists here will tell you that we look absolutely with interest the subject matter expertise of each member, be it financial, be it technical. For instance, my friend Israel, every time he looks at me as a Cisco Telecom geek, cybersecurity, I can do a good due diligence, and that's it. Finance, there's somebody else. So make sure by yourself, I think you're really, by the way, I started by myself, and I've lost a lot of money. So when you join a club, you are de-risking a lot of those things.
Absolutely. Same thing. My first investments, I thought I knew what I was doing. I had no filter, and it was in med tech. So this guy came in. He was a cardiologist. I remember it was about $20,000. He came as a cardiologist from Stanford. He was going to cure heart cancer or something, and I was just, wow. Gave him the check. Never heard from him again. Right. But that was specifically against the advice of my peers. I belong to a large angel network, several, but called Tech Coast Angels, which in California is quite a large organization. And they have a rule that I ignored, which was don't do a deal for your first year. Come in and sit in all the screenings, listen to your compatriots, learn from their experience, and then maybe you can gradually get involved in a due diligence team, share the due diligence together and learn, and then maybe do a deal. I learned the hard way. So your best asset is your fellow angels, for sure.
Thank you for sharing that confession with us, Scott.
I'll bet you all have one.
We do. I do. I know we have a question up here from Stefan, the fellow in the handsome spaceship suit. Shirt.
Actually, I just wanted to say, so I went to high school in the Bronx, and we started an angel group. We call it a trust-based angel group because most of us trusted each other all the way from high school time. And most of us in the high school are either first or second generation. So we've invested in Armenia, Korea, places that our parents came from. So we're part of the diaspora. I participate in the Armenian Angel Network. I'm also on the executive board for GBAN for space. So there is hope where we look at things. We've actually brought a company from Armenia to Silicon Valley, and they went and got acquired. So we have a lot of fun doing that.
And did they have a U.S. entity, or are you investing into Armenia?
We invested
directly?
in Armenia.
Okay.
The company in Armenia.
That's gutsy. Good job.
We want to give back to where our parents came from, right?
That's a great motivation. Let's hear it. I think the gentleman here has something he'd like to offer or question.
Question. I'm from Sri Lanka. That's in South Asia. So I really like this panel topic, which was investing cross-border. And my understanding of cross-border is that you actually invest cross-border. And thank you to that gentleman who did that, and this particular example, and Marcel, and what you mentioned. So my question is from only very few South Asians in this entire conference. So from our perspective, we are really trying to support our startups, at least from pre-seed to Series A, where they can get funding in Sri Lanka. One of the biggest problems of our economic crisis was that companies for funding are now moving out of the country, because the investors are not bold enough to invest in Sri Lanka. So this question can be only asked with this theme, the bold can change the world. I asked 2 investors in the earlier panel, would they invest in South Asia? They said no. So my question here is, as a person from South Asia, could I ask you, would you invest in a Sri Lankan company in South Asia? And if yes, what are the most important questions that you would want me to answer when I talk to you one-on-one about investing in Sri Lanka? Thank you.
Can I take that one?
I
I think your problem is if there's any founders here, when you say I'm a bold founder, one of the first job you do, you have the most amazing tool today. When I was young with hair, I had nothing. You have the internet, guys. Do your research. So, as an example, I don't know nothing about Georgia, Tbilisi. And I invested in an agri-tech company. But to your point, when you invest, you're not just investing, you're doing smart investment. So when I was giving the money, I said, can I genuinely help this gentleman? And the first thing I did, I asked him to be bullish himself to come to Sofia Business Angel for our twice yearly event called the International Venture Academy. And I coached him like crazy. I said, I want you to win the first prize, which is the most ready for investment. And he managed to get 250K. So that's the idea. It's not just about giving him advice, which is the right advice. Go to Delaware. Any founders out there, please, it costs you nothing. Just register in Delaware. Because on the exit strategy, you will find out later on it was a good move. However, it's been shown around the world that you don't have to do that. You know? It's all about wetting the shirt from a business angel perspective. We're the crazy guys, right?
Yeah, so maybe I'd love to invest in Sri Lanka, honestly. I actually have some investors from Sri Lanka that have been asking me for deals. I have not received any deal yet, so please send them over, right? I mean, honestly. I invested in Bangladesh. I invested in Pakistan, right? So Sri Lanka for me feels easy, actually, compared to Pakistan and Bangladesh. But again, also there for Pakistan, for Bangladesh, and for Sri Lanka, our requirement is still legal headquarters, in this case probably Singapore, right, is most likely. It doesn't mean that the business is moving to Singapore, not at all, right? 100% of the business stays in Sri Lanka. All the employees stay in Sri Lanka. All the money eventually gets to Sri Lanka. For me as an investor, I just want to make sure I can get my money out upon exit, right? That's the only thing that I want in the end. And that's the only reason why we say go Singapore, go US, right? Set up your headquarters somewhere else. But I mean, I just came back from Albania. I was just teaching the ecosystem in the Western Balkans. Same thing. You have Kosovo, Bosnia, Macedonia, Albania, Serbia. And then many people are like, but I cannot set up my company somewhere else because then all of a sudden I'm no longer a company from Albania. No. You still are a company from Albania. You keep your company. You keep your people employed. You keep your customers, right? Your patents, everything. I mean, it's still an Albanian company or a Sri Lanka company. It's just at legal headquarters. It's just some paperwork. It's no more than paperwork. So don't feel that you're leaving your country, right? You do not, right? You just actually make sure the money can come into your country to support the economy, to support the growth. But you have to be smart in the legal structure.
I love that question too, because the opportunity that you're talking about, well, first, the answer to your question is, my first question is, do you have a U.S. entity? If you don't, it's a pretty short discussion in terms of investment. I'm still happy to talk to you or pass you on to friends who might have more flexibility, but as a U.S. angel, that's about it for me, right? But I would still love to, like her, I would love to invest in Sri Lanka. I don't see the deal flow. And I think that's because in America, most of us grow up here. We have such a large market. Most Americans are not aware. Like I noticed you said, I'm from Sri Lanka. That's in South Asia. Most Americans don't know. You're right. I mean, I know, but I've spent some time over there. And that's something you have to, all of you, if you're trying to do cross-border stuff, we're pretty ignorant, speaking as an American, right? And we don't speak other languages and stuff because our own internal market is so large. But what I really liked what you said, and that they're hinting at as well, that Stephen brought up, is the diaspora. The most important thing that all of us as investors can do is support our local entrepreneurs. I mean, that's why we're all here. But also, you want to encourage them and call on your diaspora. I'm part of how many of you know about TIE, the Indian Entrepreneurs Association? That's a global organization. I'm a member there, and I was at their global summit in Bangalore a few months ago. And they're doing a great job of setting up an angel network because all the Indian entrepreneurs around the world are now investing back into Bangalore and all across the country, right? Of course they are. Brilliant, right? Because here's the problem. If you don't do that, all your people, your local entrepreneurs, when they start raising money, they'll get it from me and her and him, and then they'll move, right? And they'll leave behind, and it won't be an Albanian or Sri Lankan company anymore, and what a shame, right? So really, all of you who are investors, please support your local entrepreneurs because you deserve to recycle that money and create the flywheel that we saw Palo Alto become the center of the universe because they had that flywheel, right? PayPal Mafia, Facebook Mafia, Google Mafia, zoom, 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 faster, faster.
I think I see a hand on the third row back here. Can we get this gentleman a mic?
Linda, there's a shy gentleman here who has been
Oh, all right.
just here.
Okay. Well, let's do here and then up here. Apology.
All right. Thank you. My name is Peter. I'm from Nigeria, in Sub-Saharan Africa. To your point, I have a company in Nigeria, a chemical manufacturing company. To your point about registering, having a Delaware company, we have registered in Delaware as well as in Nigeria. So maybe that's some of the constraints you're talking about. So maybe I'll bring that up while talking to you. But I have two questions. What are your views or experience investing, or do you have any experience investing in Sub-Saharan Africa? I know you talk about North Africa, but specifically Sub-Saharan Africa, including West Africa. Then secondly, what are the perspective or views of angel investors when it comes to investing in asset-heavy space, like building a chemical plant, building a manufacturing plant or factory, or things like that? Thank you.
I'll answer some of your question there. Africa is so dear to our heart at GBAN. GBAN just finished their 20th anniversary. We started from scratch 7 years ago, ABAN, with Tommy Davey, African Business Angel Network. But the mistake we made, because A for Africa means really South Africa all the way to North Africa. And we found out, this is history, we're paying heavy price for that, a French Sahel-speaking countries, that's what Macron is putting 85 million euro on the table for the French-speaking African countries, and the rest is pretty much Anglo-Saxon. But here's the good news. Have you heard about Outlier Ventures in Morocco with Kenza Lahlou? She is so busy in that particular Sahel area. So I'm more than happy to connect you with her. So Africa, for me, is the next big thing. And the sooner you start investing there, I think I'm really optimistic about Africa. It's an amazing thing what's happening over there.
I'd like to add also, the question of will we invest or not it's kind of up to you. Every investor has a thesis, right? So to answer your second question, a heavy manufacturing sounds like a great opportunity, but it's not worth your time to talk to me because I don't do that. I'm a software guy, right? That's just a fact. But this is my point. The more research you do before you approach us, the sooner we can have a quick conversation so I can pass you along to a friend who does. And that's what you need to know. You need to make sure you're in the right room, talking to the right people before you feel like there's something wrong with you and your company. You may have a brilliant company, but if you talk to most Americans, they're not going to be able to invest in Nigeria, and I don't do heavy manufacturing, and you're going to think there's something wrong. It's not. It's just I'm the wrong guy. So you all have to do more research than you used to. Like he said, we didn't used to have the internet, but get on the internet. Google is your friend here, right? Research the hell out of this stuff. Whatever you're spending on product development or fundraising, like 80-20, switch it. Do 80% research and 20% pitching. Find the right people, and your pitch yield will go way up.
Excellent advice. This gentleman here.
That's my next book, just so watch.
Okay, very quickly. My name is Hiro. I'm a country head for GEN Japan. And I have one comment and one question. Number one, actually, Japanese startup ecosystem has been growing rapidly as we speak. And the last challenge we have is actually to have a very strong and sustainable connection with the global capital market, including angel investors. Right now, we have many, say, early stage or late stage VCs coming into Japan. However, not angel investors at all. So so that is a situation. Number two is regarding so what would be a condition for you guys to come into Japan? particularly in Tokyo and elsewhere, because we have so many potential startups who might be interested in the angel investing. Thank you.
I love Japan, and we actually have a good group of angel investors already in Japan. I have in Tokyo, I have some great women already there doing investments. We've done one investment in Japan as well, Habito, fintech, really, really good. They have their legal headquarters in Singapore, right? But the whole operation 100% is in Tokyo, or like it's the whole country. So we have a chapter already in Japan. They've just been to the Sushi Tech event as well, right? And they've been actively scouting. I've also been part of setting up Founder Institute in Japan. So together with some of our angels there. So we'd love to talk more and see what we can do.
Likewise, GBAN, right as we speak, we are just launched Business Angel of Qatar in Doha from scratch. Mixed women and men, which is interesting for the GCC. And we've been invited in September to go to Pakistan, 200 million country. Amazing, amazing thing happening there. I found out by mistake, $3.4 billion of software development, mostly women, Pakistani women, coming to the US, UK, and Germany. Just incredible.
I've done 4 investments in Pakistan.
Yes.
So, yep, I'm with you. Yeah.
So for Japan, more than happy to exchange and see if we can do. But here's the good news for you. There's a Japanese business angel / VC that left Tokyo and landed in Cairo called Sunnyside Venture, focusing exclusively, I think you know him, right? Exclusively in Africa, from North Africa all the way to South Africa. And he's doing very well, very well. More than happy to connect you with your Japanese friend as well.
Yes. Hi, I'm Jaywin. Yep, okay, it's working. I'm Jaywin from Singapore. I run Gens in Singapore, but I'm also from a family office, Raffles Capital. Earlier you mentioned about investing like in Vietnam, for example. You don't know how to get your money out. Same for us, but we still did an investment. Getting them to set up in Singapore. And then in Hong Kong as well, because there's a tax benefit for both. So flew into Da Nang, went to a biofuels plant in the middle of nowhere, did investment after that, and we financed them. In fact, we didn't know if we should invest in the company. So we started by financing them for buying of corn from Brazil, right? So we financed the corn. And after that, we decided, okay, it's a good business, and airlines are picking up biofuels, and then we started investing in the company. So I think that's one of the learning things. But my question is more towards the exits, because Southeast Asia don't have a good exit market. In fact, we have none, right? Indonesia is not doing well. Singapore, there's no liquidity, no volume, nothing. Thailand just ties himself. Tokyo actually is good. Tokyo Stock Exchange. But to list on Tokyo, you probably need to have a couple of Japanese on your board. If not, none of the Japanese will buy your shares. So just want to find out more on exits for angels. I feel like more is it M&A or IPO? Like, how's your exit strategies like?
I wish I had more exit stories to tell. Our IPO market has been pretty frozen, and so it's mostly M&A these days, but even then much slower than I would like. So I think maybe, is there more liquidity in Europe?
I think specifically in Asia, I see, as angel investors, I see a lot of potential in the secondaries. I mean, I see that right now.
Fair
right?
point, yes.
And specifically in the market in Asia, although of course, again, Series B is not many, right? But even at Series A, I mean, I invested in a pre-seed company. They're raising Series A right now, and I got offered by one of the VCs to do the secondary. I actually said no because I like the company too much. But yeah. No, so that happens in Asia as well.
Marcel, do you want to have the last word?
Yeah, as the most senior by age again, I'm still young at heart. One of the most amazing luck I had is called the golden 90s. IPO. I worked for Ascent Communication. We did an IPO on the NASDAQ, split 4 times, sold it to Lucent for 21 billion in 1999, and then you had the crash of year 2000. There you go. So IPOs in the US, the golden 90s. I'm sorry, I can't bring it back to you. So let's, I don't have a crystal ball. However, from a European perspective, most of it, it's M&A. M&A, M&A, M&A. Something else I love from an M&A perspective, I'm watching very carefully what we call deep tech studios are doing, especially in the fintech area, where they actually look for the talent first. They already have their exit strategy already worked out because they have the Barclay, Lloyd's, American Express, etc. They're all doing open innovation, and they're giving use cases to the startup studio. So the guys are basically putting money into talent, but the exit is already planned, which is an amazing way as well of doing an M&A. So that's my...
Well, thank you all for sharing. This period has gone extremely fast, but I appreciate all of the comments, suggestions, and feedback. Let me just ask our tech, is there a video that we're supposed to show at the end here? Yes, no? No. Okay. Well, I'm gonna then thank each one of you for joining us this afternoon. We want to encourage more cross-border investing.
Everybody wave.
Everybody wave. That's great. Thank you so much, Scott, for capturing the energy and excitement of this afternoon session. Let's do more cross-border investing. Bye-bye.
Go team.